Hey folks, this is UTB Brad from UTB Blogs, and I'm currently in San Francisco, where it is currently a little windy, which explains what's currently going on with my hair. But I came over here to meet with Grant Courville. He's the Senior Director of Automotive and Embedded at QNX, and Grant brought a little show and tell item with him. He brought the QNX Jaguar. This car is impressive. So sit back, enjoy while Grant runs us through really just a bit of what's behind this QNX car. It is awesome what this thing can do.
So obviously we're in a Jaguar XJ, and it's the vehicle that we originally showed at CES. And so I'll talk hypervisors and all this stuff. So what we've done, and you've seen our concept cars before, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here's yet another incarnation of our concept car. And so what we're actually running is QNX car platform for infotainment, so our infotainment software, and we're running QNX platform for digital instrument cluster on the instrument cluster. And the interesting thing that we've done here, when we were talking about virtualization and hypervisors earlier, is rather than have it be two ECUs or two computers essentially controlling each display, I'm actually only running one. And I'm running an Intel platform, I'm running our hypervisor, and then I'm running QNX car platform in one what's called virtual machine or one environment, and I'm running the cluster in the other environment. So where automotive's going is, and I think we talked about this a bit earlier, is you're going to see the number of ECUs, which today are between 60 and 100, and there's actually a vehicle I know of that has over 140. You're going to see those come down to a much smaller number. From a so behind the glass, behind the dash, if you like, we're running one ECU instead of two. Running our hypervisor, Intel hardware, running QNX platform for infotainment and QNX platform for instrument clusters. So this will probably be the first area of consolidation that you'll see in automotive. Will be what's called the cockpit. And even today in some vehicles where you might see one pane of glass, actually it's two computers behind the screen, or two SoCs or CPUs behind that glass. And where you see the what's called telltales, or the safety critical elements of the cluster, so think of your symbols for park, reverse, neutral, drive, maybe low gear, and your warning lights, those are actually LEDs behind the glass. Because they didn't have a way to do it to have it be completely digital and also have it be certified to ISO 26262, which is the automotive safety standard. So with our platform for instrument clusters, guess what? It is certified to 26262. We can detect if something is displayed on the screen incorrectly and actually notify the application, and the application can then decide what it wants to do. And that's everything from try to redraw that symbol, perhaps put up a warning, perhaps blank out that area of the screen. So now we have software that can do that, and it's completely certified. So that's going to enable a completely digital cluster without the need for LEDs. With the hypervisor, it allows us to do that and the infotainment system completely separated and isolated from each other, such that my infotainment system cannot affect anything in my cluster, and my cluster cannot affect anything in my infotainment system. So it's all stuff it's all innovation development we're doing that's, again, behind the dashboard that the consumer will never notice. You're just going to see two displays. And when it's our stuff running, you'll see it's also very cool. But behind that dashboard, you're actually running, again, just one ECU. There's cost savings, there's weight savings, so the wiring, and then just the fact that I've got one ECU versus two. And you're going to start to see that take place more and more in the car, especially as there's more software content in the car, because they can't just keep adding ECUs. We're already, again, well over 100 in many vehicles, and because of the nature, there's more and more software in the vehicle, because more functions are becoming automated in the vehicle, there's a need for high performance compute platforms. So think 64-bit, whether it's an ARM platform or x86 platform. And just last January, we announced our QNX 7 operating system, which, of course, it is full 64-bit support as well as 32. It's going to, again, all the BlackBerry security, so we've taken the best of BlackBerry security, integrated that in the operating system. And again, everything we do is built using our safety processes internally. So from an automotive perspective, that's the platform that's being designed into those next generation vehicles: infotainment, instrument clusters, telematics, safety systems, acoustic systems, and those high performance compute platforms that you're going to see in those automated and autonomous cars ultimately. So Sorry, I'm kind of rambling. If you have any
Oh, go
questions,
right
by
ahead.
the way, feel free. So, as you can see, we built out a user interface here, and this is an example of one of the screens. So, one of the cool things we did is you can actually flip. You can have my map on the top, map on the bottom.
Oh, nice.
And flip that around. You can also go full screen with the map. So we've built all of this, and this is what we provide to automakers and tier ones. And then what they'll do is they'll take that, use it as a building block, and they'll completely reskin it. They'll completely modify the user interface to match the brand experience that they want in their vehicles. And that's perfectly fine with us. That's exactly what we want them to do. So we don't dictate the user interface, how it should look or how you should interact with it and whatnot. Completely up to the automaker, but we give them real-world examples that are optimized and integrated, completely integrated on the hardware platform. So as you can see, and if anybody's a graphics person, they'll notice that the performance of the graphics is actually quite good. When we're talking to tier ones and automakers and we do this kind of thing, their eyes literally widen. They're like, wow, that's incredible performance from that processor that we're providing. And again, it's out of the box. It's exactly, again, what we provide. So I can go back to my split screen scenario here. So another interesting thing we've done, we've thrown in some other things as well. So I can change these screens. So for system information, which version of the operating system I have and software. My software is up to date because we obviously, as I mentioned, support software over the air update through BlackBerry's OTA. If I had Wi-Fi installed, I would have Wi-Fi here I'm connected to. So these are all subsystems that we build out, again, as examples to give to the automakers and tier ones for them to build upon. From an audio perspective, you're welcome to interact with the system as well. So again, from a graphics perspective, I can go there. In fact, I'm going to go audio for a minute here. I'll go back there for a sec. Sorry, I'm having some fun here.
No,
so,
go for it.
So I've got a jukebox, if you like, installed here. And I, obviously with my controls, I can scroll across. Again, you can see some user interface gestures, that I'm using. So again, I can scroll across multiple ways here. I can bring that across here. This is climate control. I can interact with climate control here as well. So if I go back to audio, I've got a jukebox here. I've got a USB stick connected right here. So if you take a look at my screen, I'm just looking this up. If you take a look at my screen, so one of the things, for instance, that we have to worry about, that again, we don't want anybody else to have to worry about, is if I disconnect the USB, that should go away. Automatically, it shouldn't affect the system, should just keep running. If I plug it back in, I should detect it, and once I detect it, I should pop something back up on the screen and be able to select it, and obviously interact with it as we see fit. So there's
no having to unmount.
No mounting, unmounting, or it should just happen. So another example, for instance, if I go to the main screen here for a second, actually I'll just press pause for a minute. There we go. Here's an Apple iPhone.
Ouch.
I know, it's okay. I actually have BlackBerry devices, all the rest of it. I wanted to show you SDL from Ford, Smart Device Link from Ford. So I plugged in the device, and as you see, the icon changed. So now I have access to Ford's Smart Device Link. So we've done complete integration with Ford, just as we've done integration with for other technologies. This is different than CarPlay and Android Auto. So CarPlay and Android Auto, they tend to put this, it looks the same, acts the same. The user interface is dictated by Google and dictated by Apple. So no matter what car I'm in, if I'm running CarPlay or Android Auto, it will always look the same. And car makers aren't necessarily crazy about that. What Ford did, and they acquired a company called Livio, is there's a technology called AppLink, or Ford brands it as AppLink. It's also called Smart Device Link. And rather than project onto the screen, it exchanges information back and forth. So actually the automaker gets to make it look and have the UI be anything it wants to be. So you don't lose that, in this case, the Jaguar experience. So in this case, the app is still running on the handset, and that's fine. Excuse me. But in terms of how it looks, it's how we wanted it to look. Not how Apple wanted it to look, not how Google wanted it to look. In this case, how we wanted it to look. Jaguar could make it look and act the way they want it to look. Ford could do the same. Chrysler could do the same, on and on. So again, complete integration. And again, if I disconnect that, that should happen. It should go away and go right back to where it was automatically. So again, from an app perspective, that's what we've going on in the infotainment system. Again, completely separate from the digital instrument cluster. And like I said, it's an example of what we provide to the automakers and to the tier ones that enable them to build out those awesome systems that they build and put into cars based on BlackBerry QNX. You've got the audio interaction. We actually did something like this, oh god, a long time ago. And we've now seen it appear in cars and whatnot as well. So again, the idea here is to be completely touchscreen driven. And when I talk to people about user interfaces, and I think where things are going ultimately, is you're going to see a lot more voice control. You're going to see a lot more speech recognition and what's called natural language processing, as opposed to interacting with a physical display or with dials and whatnot. And there's some technology hurdles that we have to get over to get there. Vehicles being connected to back-end speech engines, that's going to help as well, improve the accuracy of speech technologies. Actually, one thing I could show you here is, now this will be an acoustics demo, that we're going to change gears completely. So we have something called an acoustics management platform. And audio today in vehicles, obviously you can't see it, but one of the things we provide is acoustic echo cancellation noise suppression. So essentially, cancel out wind noise, cancel out echo for your hands-free communications. So we don't do the voice recognition, but we do clean up that audio, clean up the voice, and then give that to the voice recognition engine. So that's a technology we've had. We're well over 50 million systems with our audio technology, our hands-free tech. The other thing that we introduced not long ago is called in-car communication, so we can actually improve the voice communications from first row to third row, so think of 3-row vehicles. So what we'll do is, using the existing microphones and speakers in the vehicle, we'll actually detect if I'm speaking, it'll detect my voice and actually amplify it for the people in the back in a very natural way, because you don't want to sound like you're in a concert hall or anything, but we do have something I'll talk about in a minute that will do that. And same thing if you were speaking and whatnot, all using the same speakers and same microphones that are in the car, as opposed to having dedicated mics and dedicated speakers in the car, which is one of the challenges today. So back to this platform discussion that we were having, as much as we want a platform for, say, the cockpit and the safety systems in the car, which we're providing, is there's a need for an acoustic management platform where I can use the microphones and the speakers for everything to cancel out noise, to cancel out, to do echo cancellation, noise suppression, to cancel out engine noise, to improve in-car communication, so first row to third row to first row. Essentially provide an acoustic environment which is much less distracting and much more pleasing to the passengers and the driver in the vehicle. So that's another technology that we provide. We have a whole group of absolute world-class experts that provide that technology. They're second to none. It's incredible what they do from an acoustics perspective. I mean, we have engine cancellation technology today, engine noise cancellation technology today, where when cars go into a variable cylinder management, eco mode essentially, they'll essentially go from maybe 6 cylinders to 3 cylinders, and you'll hear this, you would hear this boom noise, for instance. That would be very distracting and very annoying, quite frankly. We have technologies that will actually cancel that out. And we have technologies that will make your ride quieter. And by canceling it out through software, and it's a pure software solution, they can actually remove sound deadening material in the car. And if you remove sound deadening material in the car, guess what? Your car is less expensive.
Lighter.
Well, to reduce the cost, and exactly, your car is lighter. And so better fuel economy. So you can draw this very real connection between software and fuel economy. Just from an acoustics, where you can draw a real connection from acoustics to fuel economy, which, you know, if we didn't just talk about that right now, you'd have people scratching their head going, what do you mean acoustics can affect my fuel economy? Absolutely. We'll make your ride quieter so that we don't have to have the sound deadening material in the car, and we'll do it all through software, and guess what? Your car will be lighter and more fuel efficient. So back to that technology in cars, that kind of technology is there now, and we're expanding that now with the multi-zone communications within the car with our acoustics management platform. So there for a minute. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Go back here, and now I'm back to the display I had earlier. So, like I said, I should just let you play around with it in terms of the media and whatnot. There's obviously vehicle information that I can see. So again, I can go full screen if you want. Actually, I'll swap it around and go. So I can take a look at various parameters within the vehicle, so fluid levels, for instance, and whatnot. Obviously here I'm low on windshield washer fluid. So again, that's an example app that we put together. Back there. I could take a look at temperature, for instance, in terms of oil temperature, transmission temperature, and whatnot. We've got some of the traditional interfaces, like back button, all the rest of it. From a lighting perspective, again, and this is all stuff where you're going from, in this case, an infotainment system, and I have to get access to those other systems within the car. And most of those will be hanging off the CAN bus. And again, back to the whole security story, we have to make sure there's absolutely nothing that I can do here or that anybody else can do that can affect the operation of, in this case I'm just looking at fluid levels, but can that affect the operation of something in the car that's safety critical, and more specifically, make sure you restrict what it can access. So for instance, my infotainment system, from a security perspective, we allow the automakers and tier ones to limit what that software can access in the car. So my infotainment system, for instance, should never, ever be able to talk to my brake controllers, my brake actuators, ever. So we build in software and with the whole ecosystem software to make sure, from a security perspective, from a policy perspective, that it's multi-layered and that can never happen. That's our job. That's what we have to provide back to that safe and secure platform.
That's that compartmentalization that...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the car will pick up, like when someone's speaking, say in the back seat, and bring it up to the speakers in the front. So
Yep.
it's like, that's incredible.
Yep,
I would have never
exactly.
even considered something
Well,
like that.
and it's funny, when we first started talking about it, and it became so true so fast, in the sense that if I'm driving in a 3-row or even sometimes 2-row, and I'm speaking to the person behind me, well, guess what? I want to keep my eyes forward for obvious reasons. But if they're not hearing me because of noise in the vehicle, or what am I going to do? I'm going to turn around, probably, or get frustrated, or who knows what. And that's what happens with everybody. So it's like, well, what if we took the microphones in the car and we detected that you were actually speaking, and we could actually amplify that in a very natural way, taking account of all the acoustics and the acoustic environment in the car, so that they could actually hear you and you could actually hear them. Wouldn't that be a good thing to do? And we're like, well, yeah. And then obviously that's what and extremely complex to do. And again, the other thing where the auto industry is going from an acoustics perspective is, well, they don't want to have a special microphone just for that use case, or speakers and whatnot. So the notion of being able to make use of those microphones and speakers for hands-free communications, and anything else that might be going on acoustically in the car, that's where, again, we want to truly allow them to innovate and, again, keep those costs down from an automotive perspective. So, like I said, second to none group in terms of acoustics. And we build that into the car to show some of the capabilities in terms of what we can do.
That's incredible. I mean, I hear about the QNX, the acoustics, and I seriously thought it was about deadening the sound inside, the road noise, and maybe making your car sound tougher than it would.
Well, we do that as well. There's something called engine sound enhancement, absolutely, and that engine sound enhancement has traditionally been done from a mechanical perspective. So cars, I mean, they're fine-tuning engines constantly today, and certain vehicles have that brand, have that sound associated with the engine that you want to hear.
Yeah.
Right? So there's this balance between making that engine more efficient without losing that signature sound. So one way to do that is to enhance the sound, perhaps through software, and again, reusing the speaker. So yes, we do that. Yes, we cancel out engine noise. We absolutely do hands-free. That's where we have the most acoustic systems or technology in cars. And then there's what's called ICC, or in-car communications, that we do for first row to third row.
Now, is that in any cars in the market right now, or is that...
ICC is? Yes, ICC is, and unfortunately I can't tell you who, but
okay.
until the automakers make that announcement. We're very respectful of that, by the way, as we should be, as everybody should be.
Well, that brings up another question. What does it take to be able to start seeing this QNX branding in cars?
So we don't enforce the brand on the car at all. The QNX brand or BlackBerry brand anywhere in the vehicle. The automaker owns that environment. They own that look and feel and brand experience and whatnot. So, and we're quite happy to do that, and that's the way we operate. In some vehicles, I can't remember which ones, because there's so much software, they'll often have an about screen somewhere.
Yeah.
Did I just sound like a Canadian there?
About?
There you go. It was going to happen at some point. And in there, they'll sometimes have, they'll have the software licensing. And I heard that in a few vehicles, if you actually go in there, you actually might find QNX or BlackBerry in there. So I don't know, but like I said, we provide the platforms, the frameworks. We want them to own that complete user interface. So yeah, I mean, we do a lot in acoustics, infotainment, clusters. I think I mentioned earlier, we're in every OnStar system. So, and now
you are?
Yeah, every OnStar system is powered by QNX.
I did not know that.
Oh, okay. Well, every one of them is. So this, and now with more safety needs for safety in cars, more software in cars, the higher end processors that are going into cars, and that drive towards, no pun intended, to more automated driving and autonomous driving. The incredible need they have for safety certified software, secure delivery of software in the car, and companies that really understand and have been doing that for a long time. Again, that's where the stars align completely for BlackBerry and QNX and what the automotive industry needs. So, like I said, it's nothing but an absolutely bright future ahead. It's great. In 100, and there's actually a vehicle I know of that has over 140. You're going to see those come down to a much smaller number. They call it ECU consolidation.
I'm going to pause and do that again.
I must say I do like the sounds of things. And with our engine sound enhancement technology out of Vancouver, we could actually make a vehicle sound like a Harley. Of course, we would have to talk to the nice people at Harley if they let it anyway.